have two meetings tonight. We have our annual meeting and a regular board meeting. It is October 14th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. We are in the Centerville Administrative Offices. For the Centerville Community School District, our mission is that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. The first thing we'll do is have the Board of Education annual meeting as required by law. This will not include officer elections. We'll actually do that next month, for those of you who may be wondering. That's at our organization meeting, which has to be 12 to 13 months from the last election. So we are going to, get a few of these reports in. We're going to do the annual meeting tonight, and then in November we'll do the organizational meetings. We'll have the election. So just explaining the board difference in those two meetings. I would like to call this to the annual meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Heffernan. Johnson.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Thomas. Wiskus.
Here. I'd like to welcome all our visitors, and we have quite a few people here tonight. It's always good to see. We'll open the board up. The board will open the floor to public forum if anybody has any public comments at this time. Seeing none, we'll close public forum and ask for the board to approve the agenda for the annual meeting.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda for the annual meeting. All in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is approved. We have three pieces to deal with in our annual meeting. The first one is to receive and approve the transportation annual report.
I'm just going to go over the highlights of the summary page, the first page of each of these reports. Some major differences from the previous years. If you'll notice, this year's regular route miles went from 91,636 to 79,767. So that was a big change.
And it seems more in line with what it has been in the past.
Our special education miles went up in both the yellow bus and the suburban regular auto. If you'll notice, the activity in the bus went down, but went up in the, I think they're taking more suburban into their activities. And the miles driven by staff went down. I'm not really sure where that was, so we have to delve into that a little bit. Cost of fuel went down, obviously, because of less miles. Let's see. Depreciation, we had a couple of buses that came off of the depreciation schedule. And salaries and benefits went up because of the increase in the wage that we did for the bus driver salaries. Everything else pretty much stayed in line. There were some other expenditures. I think that included, we actually had something that had to be worked on off-site. I believe that's what that was. And so with the higher, the lower cost of miles and the more expenditures, the average cost for people went from $621.76 to $828.17. Average cost of per mile from $457 to $508. Does anybody have any questions about the transportation report?
No, we don't.
As long as everything makes sense, that's the summarization of that.
Well, it's kind of hurting the cost per mile is the declining number of people that are riding routes.
Yeah.
But you still got to cover the same number of miles.
So that's all I have on that.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion second for the annual transportation report. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. Transportation report is approved. Next item is receive and approve the local education agency's certified annual report.
I'm just gonna give a brief summarization of this because down later in the financial report, we're gonna go over in detail the unauthorized, the UAB report. So if you'll notice, the general fund and the general fund balance went up. Management went down, but that's because we had an early retirement. Activity, there's a little concern there, although not necessarily a concern, but, we're receiving less revenue coming in. We did have some donations that were missed that we got back on the schedule, but I think, the decrease in people coming to games for admissions is part of that, so, I think that's the most of where that's coming from. We did increase, fees for activity this year, so hopefully that'll help a little bit. Save funds went down just because, those funds were for the high school, so obviously we're using all of those up. Pebble just had a little bit of an increase there, and nutrition, went up, so, I expect that to go down though, this coming year, because we put a full-time person in that position to help us recover some of our funds. But I really want to get into the UAV report at the end of the agenda, so that's all I have. Is everybody in
I have 1 and 3 for Luca Wilson, so maybe next meeting. We'll talk about what do we have left to pay off from high school bonds.
Not pay off on the bonds, pay
Okay.
contractor bills. But next meeting's fine.
Yep,
Don't-
yep.
Don't worry about it now, just next meeting's fine.
We're getting there, so, yeah. I will have that.
Yeah. I don't expect you to know that off the top of your head, so.
Well, I think I do, I'm not.
Motion approved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the certified annual report. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Report's adopted. And next is the receive and approve the special education supplement.
We're also gonna talk about this one a little bit more in detail when we talk about the deficit, but, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I didn't put all screens of this report in the packet because, there were things that were identifiable that could be identifiable to students, so you don't actually have that whole report. Salaries and benefits kind of level off. I think it's because we had a couple of aid positions that we didn't fill, so that pretty much stayed the same. Contract services stayed the same. Pupil transportation, like we talked about during the transportation report, that went up. Let's see, tuition out total went up by 40,000. That's what we pay out to other school districts for open enrolled students that are in special education. We don't really have a whole lot of control over that.
Does that also include students who are in residential places?
Yes, yep,
That's a big one on there.
yep.
The one in Arkansas.
Yep, and then one at Explore also, the internet.
And I expect that one to probably come down next year, or this year, but we'll see. Our receipts went up, and that's based on weighting of how many students that we have in special education. Our Medicaid reimbursement went down, but that's because we had, I think, Julie's not here, like 3 students that actually graduated, so we don't receive Medicaid for them anymore, so. So that's not, it might look like a problem, but it's not, it's just how many students we have that we can get reimbursed for. So I would say everything was pretty in line with last year, but our deficit didn't grow a little bit just because of those increases. So that's all I have for that. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
Motion approved.
Okay, go ahead, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the special education supplement. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? And that concludes our 3 reports for the annual meeting. And entertain a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion second to adjourn the annual meeting and move into the regular meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed? Thank you. We're now in a regular board meeting. I'd like to call the regular board meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Berger,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Peckman, Johnson,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Thomas, Wistris.
Here. First item on the is to approve the agenda, please.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda for the regular board meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. On the agenda is to again welcome visitors. Thank you very much for being here, and we'll open up the public forum if anybody would like to address the board at this time. Seeing none, we'll close the public forum, and we'll move into we are going to have 2 closed sessions tonight, and Mr. Taylor will help us to identify who's going to be in the first one and who's in the second one. So with this, the agenda items that the board will move into closed session as authorized by Iowa Code Section 21.51A to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to be kept confidential, and the Iowa Code Section 21.51E to discuss whether to conduct a hearing or to conduct hearings to suspend or expel a student. We would need a motion and second. Is that a roll call?
Yes.
And it is a roll call vote to move into closed section.
I make a motion to move to closed session.
Second.
We have a motion and second to move into closed section. Roll call, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffernan, absent, Johnson,
Here.
Moore.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Moore, Thomas, absent, Liskus.
Yes. All right, the board is now in closed session. If Mr. Taylor, okay, we're back on camera. All right, we're back and being recorded. The Centerville School Board is now back into open session. And the action item is to consider action on student disciplinary agreement.
Motion to approve action on student disciplinary agreement as presented in closed session.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the student disciplinary agreement as presented in closed session. Do we need this as a roll call?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffernan, no, Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Abstain.
Thomas, not here, Liskus.
Yes. Okay,
We're gonna add personnel for the next.
right. So, right, I guess, do you want us to go into closed session? Do you want to bring them back in?
I can bring in once you're in closed session.
Let's run closed session. This is just something we haven't handled,
Motion.
these 2 things to happen, okay? So item number 5 is closed session authorized by Iowa Code Section 21.51A to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to be kept confidential, and Iowa Code Section 21.51E to discuss whether to conduct a hearing or to conduct hearings to suspend or expel a student. That is the item, and if somebody like to so move.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session as previously read. Roll call, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffernan, absent, Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Thomas, absent, Liskus.
Yes. We are now in closed session.
Got a place to sit. They don't have to stay in any specific place.
All right, we are back in open session on item 5A, consideration and action of student disciplinary action. And once there's a motion, a second, the vote will be a roll call, please.
Make a motion to approve student disciplinary agreement as amended.
Second.
And so we have a motion and a second to approve the student disciplinary agreement in lieu of expulsion as amended in closed session. Just want to make sure we have that in there, so. Okay, we have a motion and a second on that. Roll call, please.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Heffernan, not here, Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Thomas, absent, Liskus.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all our visitors who have been patiently waiting while we do board business that the board would rather not do, my friend. So I think Mike's gonna step out. Anybody else need to step out from the board for a second? Okay. Mike, we're gonna go and keep rolling here.
Okay.
Item number 6, approved meetings from the previous meetings.
to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the meeting minutes from the previous meetings. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting minutes are passed. Old business, there is no new business. All right,
Okay.
FAA, you're up. So, presentation approval of FAA fundraiser, and I want to say you're both looking very dashing and, is that the appropriate
I don't
word
know.
in your jackets?
Thank you.
Sharp.
Thank you for sticking around extra. I know they have a meeting at 7, so sorry about that.
No, you're good.
You can sit, you can stand, you can do whatever you want to do, so.
You here? Okay. First we're gonna pass some of these out. I'm gonna just pass them out. So right now we
Can you
have,
introduce yourselves for the board, by the way?
yeah, so I'm Kim Schilling, I'm the FFA president,
Okay.
I'm just advisor on the trade.
and we are both in the ag business class.
Okay.
So first, right now we have the 4-season fundraiser, where we're selling meats, candy, and fruit sales. So it's going on right now until October 30th, and if anyone's interested, you can contact an FFA member. And then we also have a wreath fundraiser and our floral design auction. So for the wreaths, we'll be going to make these this Wednesday. And the auctions are November 22nd at Bloom Greenhouse here in town. And then we will also be selling at Papa's Pumpkin Patch. That day is TBD. So the floral design auction will be November 9th. So you can come bid on a vase arrangement designed by FFA members, and that's at the Flower Center on the square.
Are those going to be there on the night?
Yes.
They'll be there.
They will be there. So this year we have a new floral design class this year. They will be helping support our wreath fundraiser by helping make our wreaths with us. We plan to make around 50 wreaths to have auctioned off. We will use any profit to go towards the Lakeview Garden to get it back up and running at the Lakeview. They use the garden for Pick a Better Snack, and right now it's not as functional as they need it to be. We will use our profit to go towards the PAL program that we plan to start next month. This program is where some members of our FFA chapter will go to Lakeview and read books related to a lesson that will then be presented after.
We will also be having strawberry sales, through January and February, and we'll also have a strawberry day, probably February 27th, and we don't have a date yet. We're gonna use the strawberry sales to fund national conventions, fairs, and state conventions.
You're going to do that in February?
Yeah, February to January. Our total profit margin is 53. And, yeah, 53%. We will have $20 per flat, or $35 per flat, and $20 a basket. We'll probably be growing some strawberry baskets in class.
You got the chocolate dip those right before Valentine's Day, you're probably going to get even more out of them.
Thank you for making it healthy, what you're doing. I know I'm not a picture of that, but I'm glad you guys are doing that. Thank you.
Just trying to help you grow your profit, because you can really,
Yeah, the only problem with that is our greenhouse is like cooler than, so they kind of struggle to grow.
That was good deflection, that was wonderful. I like that.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
So we do have flyers if you guys would be interested.
sure, anything you got.
There's 3 different flyers. And then any of our profit will go to this incentives, which is affiliation dues, to ensure all students in the ag class get a free membership, FFA jackets, We're gonna invest in FFA jackets that members can try out to use at an FFA event without investing $60 in a jacket. And then our PALS program, CDE development, increase the number of FFA members involved in contest teams such as horse judging, farm business management, and more. And if you are interested in being a CDE coach, there is a website that you can explore and
What does
have an
CDE
interest.
stand for?
Career development event.
Thank you.
Yep.
I want to back up what Kenny just said there, because I think this is really important. So the proceeds for their sales, so one of the areas that they're putting it into is paying for the dues for students who are in ag classes, and paying for some of the FFA jackets that typically cost $60. So if somebody were economically disadvantaged, this would allow them to participate in the ag program. And as one of our goals with school culture is having students involved in activities, I think it's just fantastic that you, as a club, decided that you wanted to help support students to be able to participate, even if there was a financial barrier. So I think that's really awesome.
So are those jackets, you're gonna have like, you know, some extra jackets that people can use while they're at FFA, and then the next group can use them too?
Yes.
I think that's.
Yeah, that way they don't have to invest the money.
Yeah, they don't have to look out of place.
Yeah. Because if they try it out and they decide they don't like it,
Yeah.
they didn't invest the money in it.
Really proud of you guys for thinking of that. I think it's awesome.
Any questions from the board? Or anything else you want to present?
No.
Any questions from the board?
A lot of items on your meeting tonight.
Yeah, we have Casey Lewis coming in to talk about the Lakeview Garden.
Good.
Okay.
Well, good luck with that. Thank you so much for coming in and presenting.
So wait a minute, it says presentation and approvals.
Oh, yeah.
So-
We kind of want them to do this.
Yeah.
I know. So
Yes.
here's what I'm gonna do. First of all, thank you for staying so late and get to the next meeting. I'm gonna do something that may not be significant for you, but I'll tell you, as board president, I never make a motion. But because you came in and you waited, and you're the only fundraising group that showed up in person, because the next thing we're doing, all the fundraising, I am gonna make the motion that we approve the FA fundraising, because I never get to do that.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the FA fundraising. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Have a good meeting tonight.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, buddy. Mr. Johnson?
It's kind of fun. I never do make a motion.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Let's see, I'm up next.
Did you want?
Next item is approve the 2024-2025 fundraising calendar.
Yeah, so I just put together a fundraising calendar based off of ones that people have submitted to me. There's a few more on there for FFA, on top of what they just kind of talked to you guys about. Plus, swimming is going to sell some car decals that were gifted to them, so that'll be 100% profit for them. And then student council always does Operation Santa, so a lot of things that have traditionally happened. And then, so I just put that all together, and then as they trickle in, I'll add them and then get those in front of the board as well.
So I just remember that the county used to be Long Grass Lot.
Yeah, this is kind of your big items. We have some little pop-up fundraisers that happen on occasion, and we just want to make sure we're informing the board. I mean, as I talked to Jared, I shared, I don't foresee our board ever saying no to a group that needs to raise funds, unless it's like the fund to get rid of schools everywhere or something. Maybe we'd say no to that, I think, but just trying to keep you in the loop on what's going on out there.
And do we need to do this because we're the fiduciary?
Board policy says that we just need to have you approve.
Because we're the fiduciary?
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2024-2025 fundraising calendar. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much. Now, you have driven a long ways to come for us and waited a long ways. So, presentation on the baseball field updates. So, thank you for the long drive and the long wait.
Oh my gosh, no problem. That's what I do on Mondays. Okay, well, thank you for having me. I know most of you, I don't know if I've ever met you before, but I'm Rochelle with FRK Architects. Thank you for having me tonight. Tonight I'm going to present kind of just overall what we talked about at the vision session about a month ago, and then maybe go into some costing, big picture costing. We're thinking big picture and either narrowing scope, or you guys just need to figure out kind of where you want to go in the future and what your timeline might be. So this is we're living in the future a little bit here, but I'm going to share my screen, my presentation here.
I'm gonna warn you, I am seeing a cardiologist these days, so. My blood pressure medication has been up as well,
Well, good.
So we're ready.
We didn't get the jobs because of our census team work. So.
I'm just braced for the cost, that's all.
So we met with a handful of people, including Kevin and Mark and Lisa, and then Aaron was there, and we had a couple other baseball coaches were there as well. It was a nice group of people just to talk about kind of wants and needs for the district, and what would be ideal, right, for this application. So a couple things to recap from that meeting. I'm sorry, I think it has some text floating here.
This is the side of the screen.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me handle this, I think. Anyways, it's just a recap at the top there. You can see everything else.
That's gotta be something.
It's a sign.
Right? I'm so sorry. Let's see here. We'll just do that. Let's see if that pops up, then you can actually see it here. It's just something with the settings here. There.
Yeah,
We'll
that
just
works.
do that.
That
We'll just do that. Then we know everyone can see it. So we talked priorities. Number one priority, there are several that were met, multiple people that we had multiple votes on that were all the same, but number one priority out of everyone in the group was a synthetic turf field. So that was the hot item of the conversation. So that was a surprise for me, that was something surprising, that there is quite a bit of investment into a synthetic turf field. But that is one of the highest priorities. And then below that, obviously, community and school pride, larger dugouts, so making sure we have enough space for both players and coaches, batting cages, bullpen. Now those are all exterior, none of those are interior. Being able to phase the project, maybe can we possibly start the project at $1 million and then phase it to see what funds are available in the future. And then concession stand was on the lower end of the priority and along with the storage building. We also talked about touring some facilities that were similar in kind of what you guys were looking at, and discuss the facility needs. So I'll go through that really quick. We did the two kind of virtual tours that we did were, one was Newton baseball field that was completed last year, very similar in size. And then the other one was Johnston, which was a retrofit. So that one originally was an older baseball field that we retrofitted. So those were just a couple of the examples that we looked at. So the overall field site that we're talking about, and I think many of you are aware of kind of the area that we're looking at right now, but obviously Lakeview is here. We have your main play field, football field here, activities field. And then just south of that is this kind of ballpark area and soccer complex. And so the kind of the small little area we're looking at in that scope is in this little box here. So the layout that was found to be of importance was 320 feet to the foul poles. That's a pretty typical standard high school baseball size to the foul poles. It can range in some things. A minimum of 40 feet from home plate to the backstop. So there was some conversation of we might be able to save some cost by not going 60. 60 is more of the standard right now, but you can go as low as 40, but you really don't want to go lower than that. 60.5 feet to home plate to pitcher's mound. Again, these are typical high school dimensions. bullpens that can have two people practicing at the same time for pitching in those bullpens. And a batting cages as well. So again, exterior batting cages. So what I'm sure, batting cages are located here right now. Again, this is all very big picture. We would want to go back to the coaches another time and really confirm these are the locations of where things they would want, but this is just starting the conversation. And then 90 feet between bases, bleachers as well, or the press box for 250 participants. And the press box could be something as simple as a prefabricated press box that you would get with the bleachers. That's pretty common to do if you even do a press box for baseball. So some of the images that people liked or were more inspired by, this was kind of the dugout style they were looking for, something a little, it's just masonry construction, pretty simple, but had, some, it just was a nice kind of in between the higher end and the low, just more of a fenced in type of dugout. Again, turf field was something that was desired. We did talk about backstop styles, because there are a lot of different backstop styles, and we went with something a little bit more traditional, a little bit more economical with doing a fenced backstop style. Do that in a pre-manufactured fence, that way you're not buying the netting fence, which can lead to a lot of maintenance. And then next over is an example of batting cages, again, not with the netting, there's still nets on the inside, but you have the more traditional chain link fence there. So again, those were just some of the images that people gravitated towards during our discussion. And then let's talk about budget. So I did print that off.
You have the AED, did we win already?
Okay, anyone else? Anyone else back here want one? Anyone else? Yep. Okay, so let me explain how I kind of broke this down for you. I went with a overall subtotal budget. This is the top, so the bottom is concessions and restrooms. Let's not worry about that right this second. Let's just focus on the top, which is the bulk of your baseball field requirements and needs. This is also just construction costs, not including soft costs, which would be like your reports, your professional fees, those kind of things, printing, those soft costs. So the top number is with synthetic turf at the bottom, the subtotal, at about a little over $3 million. And that is with a 5% design contingency in case things are changed. So there's a little bit of wiggle room in that. Now keep in mind, that includes all of the things listed below site-related items and field-related items. So there's a big ticket item you probably see pretty quickly in there that could be that was actually, we did have a conversation about lighting. Is lighting really necessary right now? And the answer, that consensus amongst the group, was no. But we should rough in for it, which means we'd have conduit in the ground and things like that prepared for it. So not necessary to purchase the light posts and the lights right now, but something we definitely want to plan for if we're gonna move forward with the field. So that's a pretty big ticket item that could come up. Again, I wanted to create an all-in, and then you could really kind of start to itemize and pick out maybe how we might want to phase this, or what is of the most importance, or what is your overall budget that you have as a district to spend that you'd like to allocate towards this project. So the second line item subtotal is the natural turf. You can see that's significantly lower. Baseball turf is expensive, a little bit more than a football turf field. It's just got a little bit more elements to it than we would have. The fill in those is different. They use multiple fill types in the baseball field type of turf. This is a little bit more involved and use a different type of knitting for those turf fields. That's why you have a significant increase for your field, your turf cost. You also have a lot of sub drainage with that turf too. Lots of sub drainage that we'd have to add in there. Infrastructure underneath the turf fields. to make sure that it's draining properly, and we have to stabilize it as well. So that, a lot of that cost is pretty expensive. So yeah, again, that kind of outlines those items. You can see some of the field items, which includes kind of, I try to itemize that too, so you kind of get an idea. Batting cages, baseball backstop, baseball bullpen, baseball dugout, press box, and bleachers, which you would probably combine those two together on that. The next item is really this is about 1,000 square foot building, wouldn't have to be done necessarily, but this would be if you did a concessions building, restaurant building as well. But you do have some of that already on site, but not dedicated towards this specific vehicle. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell for you. Do you have any questions?
I have a question on lighting.
Yeah.
I know that, Musco Lighting out of Oskaloosa does all kinds of lights for
Yep.
sporting events, and I know that kind of lighting, I mean, especially for events, so you don't waste lighting and it doesn't throw lighting in places you don't want it in there. And that's this number you have, the 605,000, that's considering that type of lighting, just specifically for baseball
Yes.
fields.
Correct. It's like an LED light.
Yeah.
It would, you have requirements of lighting requirements throughout the field, like they will test the field to make sure that you're lighting your foot candles is what we would call it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we use to determine how much light is in one point. And they have to be very even, so it requires a pretty sophisticated system.
You don't want those players missing the ball when it comes in there at 100 miles an hour.
And that could be an investment you make in the future too. I don't think that's something to think about. Not everyone has lights either, so.
So is that lighting including the, how do I ask this question? You have lighting and utilities, a separate line.
Yes,
Is the utilities just getting all the conduit there?
so utilities would be our electrical connections.
Right.
Like our bigger electrical connections, not just for lighting. So like other things that we need throughout the facility. It would also be any water connection we might need out there. And it would potentially, we'd have to talk about what our sanitary would do out there, and that's kind of in the next concessions line item.
So you're answering the question better than I'm asking the question.
Okay, good.
I'm already value engineering this thing.
Well, and that
Right.
was kind of the conversation
So
that,
if we put all the conduit in,
right.
is that part of the 605 or part of the 165?
That is probably, there's probably a little bit more I need to add to that utilities cost, but it's
Okay.
not gonna be huge.
Okay.
I mean, cause you were just talking empty conduit, so
Right.
it's not, and you're already doing a lot of,
Yeah.
movement of the ground, so,
Okay.
So the lighting line there, the light poles and the.
yes.
And the wires from the transformer?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
That's why I was trying to figure out how to ask the question.
Yes, cause you have with those Musco, I mean, if we're just talking Musco, but there's a lot of different lighting companies, but Musco's the biggest one
Yeah.
around here. They have, require a pretty substantial panel and a pretty substantial system for that.
Their engineering requirements for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we can even explore other lighting options
Yeah.
if we want. If you
So-
want to.
The dugouts,
Yes.
that's like a new home.
So the dugouts, for two of them, now this is again masonry construction.
Yeah.
So it would be, what I was kind of showing in that previous is a single, what I would call single white, so a single CMU, that's actually split face, which you could choose to do whatever you would want. But split face is typically what we would use because you don't have to paint it, it still looks nice.
Yeah.
Just a single white of split face and then a metal roof. That's really, it's that simple, but in that cost, I can see if I can, what
Yeah.
costs are coming down at, but that's kind of a generalized cost that
Yeah.
when we built the previous facility last year, it came in a little under that. But I added a little inflation to that.
Cause I know Mason around here that,
Well, and we have, so for example, we've done it where we've just given drawings to,
Yeah.
you know, we've provided them maybe elevations or floor
Right.
plans, and if you guys have someone that can do it within, you know, within your required bid, under your bid requirement, this doesn't mean you couldn't sell, you couldn't get someone
I
local to
think
do that.
I would be, yeah, I think that's something we'd wanna,
Yeah.
I don't wanna go and start naming names, cause I'll forget a mason and name and somebody online will be
Right.
upset.
Right,
But there's quite a few masoners in town that,
and again, this is just a starting point.
yeah, no, that's
So.
fine.
And the bleachers, you would probably do that on your own as well, you would hire someone else to do that typically anyways. You guys just get a better number and you can do it within your bidding threshold, under your bidding threshold, so.
Okay. All walking tacos to pay for a concession stand.
And we can, this could be discussed too further, this is assuming a masonry construction.
Yeah.
So again, conversation's still there.
What's a starting point?
It's a starting point, exactly,
And
exactly.
this gets us something to go back to the city too and say, okay, we've got some rough numbers on our side. Because some of this, I know there were some initial discussions that, you know, that public partnership.
Something like this, completion time, start to finish roughly.
I would say with the grading that we have to do out there, probably 6 months,
Start to finish.
yeah. And that kind of depends on the time of year as well. So, let's say you were to start construction, now, just hypothetic, right, hypothetically, start it in the spring, when ground's thawed. You could probably be done by like fall time, October, November time period, and be ready for your season the following year. Now, if you did the turf and, between turf and natural, or synthetic and natural, you want about 3 growing seasons on, so you would wanna get that installed very quickly. In order to have it for, if you were to do it next spring, to even have it ready for your following spring season.
So
You
is
start
that
pretty early.
natural turf, is that seeded or is that sod?
You do seed it actually, yeah. You would, for a baseball field, you really wanna seed it. It gets you a better product.
Okay.
Get the lights and get the turf.
What's that?
Get the lights out and get the turf. I'm with you, Aaron, I hear you. Starting point.
Okay.
And
Relatively speaking, how much dirt needs to be moved? I see the contour line.
So that's the existing, before they did some, they've actually, they've already graded the south half of that for fields. The problem is that your baseball field is larger than the fields they were initially funded for, so we're gonna have to bring some dirt in to fill in some of those grading areas,
Did
but.
you do any rough map? on how
No,
much it is?
no, I did not, I will.
But that's
totally-
included in this?
Yes. Yep.
There's no schools buried out there or?
Hey.
Oh,
It's the boiler. It's the boiler.
That's on the city.
We haven't done a geotechnical report, but I will certainly look back in the assessor's website and see if I find anything from the 1930s. It can be hard to see though, they're not very good images anymore. Yeah.
It's a pretty funny question.
that is a good question. I mean, unfortunately, we found it to be legit in our time together here.
Okay.
How long would you, if we came in and said, this is what we know, how long does it take you to get drawings?
So if like you told me either later this month or next month, I would say we could have drawings out for a spring start. Now, if it was last spring, which they were able to start in like February, because we didn't have,
Yeah.
that's probably too soon, but I'd say like
No.
in April, May start.
And still, winter bidding session would be the best.
Yeah, it would probably be a February, probably a March bid, honestly. At this point, just to make sure our drawings are well done for you. Because there are still details we'd have to refine with your coaches and that's all, that we want to make
Is the cost of that block, that half-face block,
Yeah,
how much more is that than regular block?
no, I don't know, but I can find out. I can find out.
And that's probably cheaper than doing block than a brick, veneer or brick.
Yes, and you know, we've actually done it where we've done a brick, a structural brick. So that's an option too. We've done that in a lot of schools instead of doing, you know, if you can buy, you can get an 8 inch or 6 to 8 inch wide, structural brick. There are
We've got a
certain,
large pile of bricks available to us, I think, right now.
that might not work. But
Just try it.
you can do that. That could be an option we could look at too and see if the cost really is much different. Sometimes that structural brick's hard to actually get because it's not as widely used.
We're gonna have to really value engineer this thing to make it work.
Well, and we can, and the other thing with the dugouts, let's just say we do something a little bit more simple to start. But we make sure
Phase
it's,
later.
yeah, it's a phase later to add in the dugouts maybe to what you would want here. You know, what you ultimately would want, right? I think you can put in something that provides you with what you need now in the space, and then we can plan for what that future is.
What's the difference in the dirt work prep for a natural versus synthetic?
So for a synthetic, obviously you have to build up your pad is what you need, right? For a synthetic, you are going to have to put a lot of infrastructure, a lot of subdrain, and you have to stabilize that soil. So that cost is pretty expensive to stabilize the soil. We did that actually at the base, at the football field.
Yeah, it was like $100,000 adder to put that.
Yes,
stabilization.
yes. And so we just automatically do it here in baseball fields because typically you're gonna need it for a good substrate. But yes, typically you have a sub-drainage system, which can be expensive, your storm sewer, all of that, to get that out of there. And then you're gonna have your stabilization of the soils. And then you have rock, you're gonna have a rock base, and then obviously everything, the labor and stuff too, for the install of the turf. And the material of the turf itself.
So, Aaron, close your ears.
Hmm?
Just close your ears.
My ears have been closed the whole time.
Could you put all that in and then do natural? And then 10 years from now, when there's more money to put in synthetic?
You know, I'd have to go back and see. I think it would
Does
be
that
very
get you anywhere?
challenging. I think that would be challenging.
Okay.
The reason why you'd almost be better to just do a natural and change it to turf later, or to synthetic later. The only thing you'd be sacrificing really on a natural field would be your labor that you did to the seed, right? The clay that you used, and the irrigation that you'd have.
On the synthetic turf, is the base running still dirt? Or whatever fancy baseball dirt it is?
No, typically the turf is actually a shorter pile.
Oh, really?
Now, you have done, I have seen combo fields, so that would be worth a discussion. But traditionally, it is actually just a smaller turf, different color. It's a little bit different makeup too, so it feels different on the feet.
Okay.
So,
So it's virtually, very, very low maintenance.
yes, yeah. And if you wanna go look at one, the Newton one, not terribly far from here, that one was just done. And that one would be a good example of,
Is that just all turf?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can connect you with the person up there too, if you wanted to go see that.
Okay.
Be happy to do that, or meet you there too.
What other questions everybody have?
Got any coupons for baseball fields?
Hey, you running any IASB convention specials?
Award-winning.
I don't know.
If we're not asking, we're not doing our job.
Because, come see us, maybe we will.
There'll be a drawing, free baseball field for All right.
Wait, not completely free.
Love it.
We'll load the tank on that one.
Not managing high school to baseball field.
Yeah. By high school to make football, get a baseball free.
Can't blame us for trying.
Hey, no, not at all, no.
I appreciate your work you put into this thus far. It gets us started.
Yep. And if you have any other questions too, as you guys kind of contemplating your decisions, just let me know. I can get more information or be happy to show you anything else, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can even bring by the turf too. I have a sample in my office. I should have brought that tonight. I'm so sorry.
We'll see.
I'll bring it Wednesday.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
get it around.
I'll see you guys Wednesday. So,
Thanks.
Wednesday.
All right,
Okay.
thank you very much for making the trip and staying so late to do that, so.
That helps, I did value engineering, play a home worksheet that I can share each of you to play around with if you like, and it'll calculate it for you, the soft cost of the percentages we said generally.
Yeah.
So,
I can send you my Excel file too, if that'd be helpful.
thanks. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
I will do that.
If nothing else, know that you have trained this board on the term value engineering.
You're not the only one.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
Drive safe. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
I don't miss many meetings, but either Bird Washington, Arizona, or teach Bible school.
All right, so for those of you who are wondering, it came in at natural turf at $2,371,000. The synthetic turf at $3,009,000. And I can tell you the concession stand I won't vote for right now is $452,000, so that'll have to get value engineered down to like $80 or something.
Seriously, the cost of more.
So, anyway, so those are the numbers, if you didn't hear those, the phone number to Russell, so. Student representative report, thank you so much. This is like the longest you've had to wait, we're gonna have to make it up. Start with her.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so our homecoming dance this year was a success, and we had about 220 students attend. And students have been conducting musical practice, which is Little Shop of Horrors this year.
When's that coming up?
The musical is the Little Shop of Horrors this year, and we've been having a lot of practice.
Sounds pretty good too.
It's the 31st, 1st, and 2nd.
Thank you, I always run the first number, thank you.
A lot of seniors participated in college application day. SPS, so students created a cool color flower design for a pretty bench by the art room.
I saw some pictures of that, that looks awesome.
And students are appreciating the various choices in advisory, like board games and stuff during advisory.
Okay.
And marching band is getting ready for the last homecoming game. No, not homecoming game, last home game and state this week.
Okay. Are you in marching band?
Yeah,
How's it going?
good.
What instrument do you play?
Alto sax, I'm like the color guard girl. this
Oh,
year.
you're a color nerd, okay.
We've got one really nice senior drum major and one really mean junior drum major.
Now, Dad.
So,
That's all I
Are you in a
have.
jazz band by chance?
No.
Okay. Well, Mr. Taylor, work on that.
yeah, we'll work on it. We'll get it rolling. Thank you very much.
All of my kids played in jazz band and they had a blast. They did. They loved the competitions. They loved going to it. When you go to the jazz festivals, there's somebody that comes in and kind of does workshops with you. And they learn so much about it. And saxophones usually get a little bit of special treatment in jazz bands.
It's because it's the best instrument. That's why.
What? It is the best, right?
Right, yeah, that's
Can
where
I
it's
agree
at.
on that?
That's how it goes, right?
Easy, easy.
But I find out how bad I am when I go to summer band and see all
whatever.
the players, they're good now.
All right, so any questions? Did you have fun at homecoming?
Mhm.
You did, good, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We will make sure you don't have to wait 2 hours next time. So I do apologize for where you put more on the agenda, so thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we should have got her up first.
I learned that I am the worst predictor of time on agendas.
Wasn't gonna say anything, Mark.
Yeah, I'm the worst predictor of time. I think I told Tara we'd probably get her item at 6:45. My bad, I'm really bad at this.
All right. Approval of athletic transfer eligibility for LP and CM.
There are two-
Yeah, go
These
ahead.
are two students who are open enrolled out, as per the rules with varsity participation for students who are open enrolled. In order to participate in a varsity level event, they need to be released from the 90-day waiting period in order to participate as a varsity athlete. So they're new open enrollees out there requesting this.
Okay. So, did we approve the open enroll, or were these within
These were within the timeline.
the timeline?
Yeah.
Have any of these student athletes played in any athletics? Because we're sitting here in October, there's already been a couple sports going on.
My understanding is that they may have participated in a varsity football game.
Okay.
I didn't see it for myself, though.
So,
So, I
go
guess,
ahead.
yeah, is this something that, was this transferred, is that on us or is that on them?
Yeah.
Actually, the student has to request it, and then the school has to enforce the eligibility.
Which
So
school?
they would have, the receiving school.
Okay.
Do we play for the receiving school already?
Yes, that's my question.
I just want to make sure we as a board haven't done anything.
No, you haven't done anything off. That's not on the sending school.
Okay, because this is the first time we're getting this.
Yeah. 'cause I-
Yeah. Nope, you haven't violated any rules.
Because we had one that transferred out of the Bolton or Bloomfield or something in the past.
Yeah.
But that was before the start of the season.
And we received the request and processed with the other school prior to, so I mean, that was, we went through that process in time to that student.
Do we have any reporting requirements as to?
I don't know, that's something I can look into. If we do, it would be something that I would be required to report, not the board so much, so I can look into that. Get directed to do so.
The board president's precedence and what we said in the past was, I don't know, Tim, if you were on the board or Derek at the time, but it was, we received the student in and we said at the time that we would not stop the student going out from participating.
Right.
That's the precedence that we had, so I would recommend approving this. I just want to make sure that we haven't done any eligibility problems by just now getting this request on our end.
No, the problem's on their end.
Okay,
They should have had it in sooner.
okay.
So that's the, like, before the start of a season, is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so like if the kid went here, they wouldn't have played. They would have played lower level, but they wouldn't have been able to play varsity until this was approved.
We just don't want.
So if you, for example, if you didn't approve it, then they're gonna have to self-report to the state, and then if they won a contest or whatever that kid participated in, they'll have to forfeit it, because they broke
Also,
the
my
rules.
understanding is that it was, I think the term I heard was slaughtered, more than it cost.
That I'm not worried about, but
Yeah.
it's more of, have we done anything that we need to be in compliance with the State Athletic Association?
No, we're clean.
Okay, all right.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion second to approve the two athletic transfer eligibilities. All in favor, signify, motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of the 2080 agreement with the city of Centerville for a school resource officer.
On your place at the table today, when you came in, was an amended appendix to this that removed the information pertaining to the next fiscal year. So tonight, we would be approving this agreement for 25%, 0.25 FTE SRO for the remainder of fiscal year 25.
And the reason it's just a few hours a day right now is just because of academy issues and.
Yeah, that's my understanding. We've been waiting for the opportunity to get back into the SRO world, and it's just been a staffing concern, up to this point. And, they have hired, a full staff, but we still have some officers that have to go through the academy. And, all of that process, I guess, won't be done until like April, so, that's why it would be a limited amount of time right now.
So this is for 10 hours a week.
Yes, sir.
Do we know what 10 hours we're gonna get? Do we have control of that?
It would be, my understanding is it would be written on the weekly schedule for the officers.
Do we have input on the weekly schedule?
We didn't really discuss that.
Will we have the same officer all the time?
It would be rotating between officers. The discussion was trying to introduce all of the officers to the new administration, the administration of the new officers, trying to build some relationships with an idea on, in the spring, pending our ability to fund a full position, given our declining enrollment, that there will be a selection process that includes some parents and administrators and PD at that point to select a full-time.
And I don't like how much you can say on this, but if you can answer this question, do police officers go through special training to be an SRO? Are there special skills that are needed to do that?
Yeah, there's a class that officers can complete. It's not one that you typically complete prior to going into schools, but there is a school resource officer training that can be attended.
I'm a little concerned about rotating staff.
Okay.
Tim? Tom, you got anything?
I just think it seems to me it's a real good idea to do what we can on this, and it's 25%. I think we should do it.
So, I guess I'm concerned about just having 10 hours.
But that's our choice.
I know. What I'm concerned about is if it's a rotating staff, we don't have, I guess what I'm thinking is, would it be better to have a consistent police officer who is there, the same person every time, who gets used to dealing with kids, has been through some SRO training? And would that serve the district better than just somebody who's on patrol coming in for 2 hours?
I just think that for the students in the school, it's just good for them to see others, to see police officers in this kind of role, so they get to know them in another place, and build some rapport with them. So I think it's a good idea to have different officers there. What do you think, Tim?
10 hours doesn't seem like very much. But I think it's a good idea.
So, on this 10 hours, I guess, do we know how it's gonna be tracked? Because right now what we do is if this building administrator needs somebody, they just call and an officer comes by off patrol, if they're free, and can get up and do that. So my question is, since we don't know exactly what hours they're gonna be in there, let's say they're supposed to be in there from noon to 2 today in a certain building.
Right.
What if there's a need at 10 o'clock that we normally now, we would just call on somebody to come up, are we gonna, is that gonna be part of our SRO time, or is that gonna be just a regular call that we would make normally? In other words, where are we kind of gaining from this? Because I bet we probably have a police officer up there, probably, I don't know, I'm gonna guess several hours a week, total time on calls now. So how is this gonna be different than?
Yeah, and we really didn't discuss how that would work. And I can ask some more information to that question. My understanding was that it would be put into the weekly schedule for the officers, but I'm not sure, how that, like you're talking about, if there were a call at 10 o'clock and that it was 2 hours on Tuesday, would that then count as some of those? We didn't really discuss that at all.
So would we have to, I have some questions, I have
Okay.
some things that I think we need to have some more understanding of how this is gonna work, because I know my preference would be the same person who has had some SRO training. I mean,
That's fair.
am I on track there? Is that a better solution or not?
I can see it both ways. I mean, I think it's definitely, you know, I think the experienced side on the SRO would work, but I also, what Tom was saying earlier, you know, getting those other officers in that building, and not only knowing the administrators, but the students. I can go both ways with it, but I think it goes back to some consistency too. So, I mean, if it's me, and we had to do it right now, I would probably put that same guy in there, or gal.
So there's a grant for this, right?
So it's not a grant, what we get.
Sharing dollars.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
funding that we can receive to support this would be a 2 student count for sharing through fall beds,
Okay.
which fall beds is due on the 30th of the month. So we would have to, if we were gonna get the sharing dollars, we'd have to have an agreement in place by the 30th to be able to do that.
And our next meeting is on what, 28th?
That sounds right.
Yeah, 2 weeks from the 28th.
You know, I think, you know, when Mike substitutes at the schools, I think it's the best thing that we can have right now. It's such a great thing that he's there and he gets to know, and so for other officers to know the students, I think it'd be great also. I really do.
I really think it's great when Mike subs in the school.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing that, that's
For
wonderful.
lots of different reasons.
Thanks. And anybody playing along at home, we can help you find a class. So what would you like to do with this?
Well, I guess it's really up to the board. I think I'd like to know how we're gonna schedule this rather than just, it sounds a little loose to me, is what
Sure.
I'm saying.
And I'll admit, I think I rushed it onto the agenda, and I probably could have waited for the 28th agenda, but, yeah, maybe I got a little excited about the idea of getting some, because I know that's something that we really talked about wanting to have, and I kind of rushed it out there, maybe without getting a couple of those details, and I'm gonna own that. But I think the hope would be to talk about it at city council on their meeting, which would be next Monday. So if you wanted to table to answer some of those questions, maybe we could let them approve first, come back on the 28th, but like if we were going to move forward with it, which I really highly recommend that we move forward, if we did that, we'd need to approve it that night in order to get the sharing dollars.
So I want to approve an SRO, but I
Yeah.
want to make sure it's the right agreement for the district.
Yep.
And what I don't feel comfortable right now is it just anybody on patrol, or is it somebody that can really go through some training to handle, because not everybody's really is trained to handle kids.
Sure, that makes sense.
I'm telling you what, as I've thought about substitute teaching, man, there's some classrooms I don't think I could relate to those kids very well. And so, I think that's just human nature. I mean, there's some teachers that they want to teach a certain grade and not another. And I think that would probably play over into the police world as too. And so I just want to make sure we have somebody who, because what if somebody's just put on a schedule and they don't want to do that, they're not going to be real effective. Versus somebody who wants to be an SRO.
That's fair.
That's really where I'm kind of coming from this is, and I know Mike here, and he probably can't say a lot about it, that's okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just want to make sure whoever's coming in wants to be there and embodies what the district needs to help kids.
I would say, I would ask the board if it looked like we were moving towards the realm of we're just not comfortable with the agreement, the way that it's lined up, we need answers before we can vote yes, rather than voting no, that you could table it, let me bring it back in the 28th then.
I would-
More info.
Yeah,
And maybe a support person that can answer from the city side, some of those questions.
I think I'd like more information how it's going to be staffed.
Okay.
I'm all in agreement, I'm all in on 25% of the cost on the 10 hours, I'm all in favor of that. I just want to make sure we're getting the right person in there.
Okay.
So, I don't know, I mean, you guys are free to make a motion, so that's just my,
So the sharing agreement has to be presented by the 30th.
Yeah.
And it's 28th to the 30th enough time. That's Russian.
Well, I'll be honest with you, what I would probably do, or Lisa and I would probably do, is we would, I mean, I'm not getting the sense that you're not interested in this, or, oh, maybe you just want to know some details. We'd probably go ahead and put some of the information into fall beds and just not click submit, because we could always delete it out. The time is in putting the information in, salary and benefits and all that stuff,
I mean,
so.
I think the consensus is, yes, we want to get that relationship
Yeah.
back, but I think there's still a few questions that
Sure.
we answer on the city side.
And I think we could get that lined up pretty well for the 28th, and we'd certainly be ready to, I'd have a button I could click at the end of the meeting, or even during the meeting, at that point, like, I think we have it ready for that.
You know, maybe if we just approve it now and just allow you to get that information later.
I mean,
I don't mind
I'm
doing
comfortable
that.
doing whatever I'm directed to
Well-
do,
I think we'd want that in the agreement.
so I guess, so am I asking for it to be a specific person, what am I asking for in the agreement?
Well, I guess that's the question is,
See, we don't know all this SRO stuff, and who has that, or wants to get it.
Well, I think there's, in terms of selecting a person permanently, what Tom had talked about for the spring sounded pretty good. Like, he wanted to have some involvement from people. I think technically city code allows for it to be chief's choice, but I think we talked about some process, and he was pretty open to being collaborative with us on that, which I really appreciated, because they could very easily, if they wanted to, if they didn't want to be the partner that they are, they could just say, here's who we're willing to give you. I'll be honest, I like every one of our officers, like, I wouldn't talk bad about anybody, but, they could just say that. So I think giving us the ability to collaborate when that time comes would be pretty awesome. I think that's a nice offer.
so are you comfortable with it as is?
I think, I understand what you're saying about wanting to know which hours count, and I can ask that question, and I can get that.
Okay.
I'm okay doing either way, as long as I get it by the as long as we decide by the 28th whether we would like to accept or not accept, then we can do what we need to do to, I hate to say get the money, but to be honest with you, the money covers a large chunk of the salary that we'd be paying, so.
Like 16,000 to 18,000?
Yeah,
for the
like-
shared hours.
So it doesn't hurt us to have that money come in when it wasn't going to anyway. State gives it to you for sure.
And that's not something the state's probably gonna like pull away next year.
No, in fact, I would say it's more likely, kind of the discussions I've heard, it got some traction last year to up the sharing number for SROs, as we've talked kind of about school safety as a state, because it's become a lot more salient feature of school life in Iowa since what happened in Perry, and I think, I could very well see, instead of a 2-student count that you get for it, even a 3 or 4, getting approved in the future. I don't know if this will be the legislative session that would happen or not, but there's definitely an interest in figuring out how to help support school safety. So it could be.
We also, be devil's advocate, we run the risk of something happens at the council, and they don't like the fact we didn't approve it, they could not approve, then we could potentially be out their share dollars.
I'm gonna make a
Yes,
motion
or
to
no?
approve this 28E agreement with the city of Central. Now,
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the 28E agreement with the city of Centerville as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 What do you do, sooner?
Oh, sure, yeah, I didn't think about that. Sorry.
Okay, let's see the ayes again. All right, we got 4 ayes, so we got a quorum. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'll try to get some information on,
Officially, all opposed? One abstention. Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to get the information on the scheduling items for all of us too, so that I can, share that. I'll probably share it in a weekly report or something.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Next item is approve the memorial at Paul Johnson Field.
I have a helper for this one, who's waited very long.
No, you're fine.
Oh, what's that?
Wait.
No, we're at the memorial.
Okay.
Would you, so Tara has, some information she's put together on.
I thought that you were presenting the information, I was just here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought I was just your moral support.
So, okay, so Tara is gonna be my moral support here, which is always a good thing to have. So, this memorial is, so it's a, not a large rock, I would say a medium-sized rock.
Yeah, so it's actually, I sent Mark some pictures, and I have these, I can pass them around, that show the measurements, so 26.25 by 18.5 by 25 inches. So it's not big.
It's not gigantic. I mean,
Nope.
Cameron, are you able to, present a picture of on screen if I send it to you? So I'm gonna have Cameron put some pictures up here for you so you can see just what we're talking about here. And this would be down at the flagpole by the football field, so we've got the, what is that, golly, you can see how bad my directions are, the east side, east end zone, I think that is, right? We've got the lighted flagpole there, so it would be next to that.
I kind of spoken with Aaron earlier today, and logistically, it probably could even be underneath the sign, the home with the big red sign. I think we're gonna be able to.
So it would be, that, maybe that's even a better location. This, there was discussion about this under previous administration that did not, come to the board table, but, about the time of the memorial that was done, in the gym, the rolling, flag in the gym, and instead of, two people doing the same thing, this was the proposal in place of that, to do this, which is really nice now that we have a picture. Thank you, Cameron. So this is the size of the rock here. And then there's a plaque that, will be attached to this rock. So Navy veteran from Vietnam, class of 67.
And I can tell you on this pole, this will go into a pole, the pole will drill down into the stone. Just to give you like an idea of height, this has to be cut down because it's too long for, this is taller than what the stone is. So, it's not like a boulder.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't look too big in that picture. I mean, it looks tire sized almost.
And Alex Lind, has volunteered to take it down there, communicate with Aaron as far as placement, and then this will be put into, the stone once it's placed at Lakeview, just to avoid, moving it, but he's volunteered his own equipment, all that.
So like to bore down into the stone and, yeah.
Yep.
So we're bringing this to the board because our board policy, doesn't necessarily allow for a lot of, landscape elements, but the board policy ironically that, is proposed allows for with prior approval, for a monument of this type to be installed. So kind of working under the idea that if we agree with the board policy as proposed, we're asking for permission to install this.
So you've had a plaque made without board approval?
We have this approved when, Mr. Rubel and Rich Parker were here.
How long ago?
Would have been beginning of 2022 is what he thought it was. So we were, originally had the rolling flag idea, and then, the family, Barb Hawkins, wanted to do that, and so we decided, Matt and his sisters decided, that they would be fine with them doing that project. So then we kind of thought, well, we would do, maybe buy a new flagpole when we found out this field was coming in, well, that project included the pool, so didn't need that. But really, they just felt like the football field and incorporating, something to do with flag patriotism was what they wanted to do. And Paul Johnson Field is actually the only place that, I'm trying not to get emotional because I'm trying to be Derek, don't make fun of this one time.
Yeah.
That Matt and his dad's the only place that Matt and his dad both played, in their lifetimes together. And then both of Jack's grandsons also played. So that's kind of when we thought, okay, that's gonna be a good place. Now, how do we tie it in? And so Matt had came in and he had sat down with Mr. Rubel and Parker, and they talked about the size. It had to be within, we don't want anything big, nothing gaudy. And we actually have been waiting for Cantera for almost a year to find a stone that would work, because I guess you can't just make one. It's apparently not a thing, I don't know, I just make things, I don't know, but, so we had this made shortly after that discussion, and this has just been waiting, we ordered it through Danco, brought it in at the time, showed it to Mr. Rubel, it was good to go, and then in current discussions with Mr. Taylor and Aaron, we were like, well, we need to have another discussion, so here we are.
Kind of a slipper, finding the person to fit the slipper, looking for the right rock to fit the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't want anything too gaudy, and, Matt purposely, in choosing the location of that, knowing that that was all going to be concrete, so that there's no mowing around it, nobody has to weed eat around it, nobody has to move it around to, to get to anything, raising the flag, lowering the flag, it's not in the way of anything, it's not in a walkway, anything like that. With the size that it is, being smaller.
So, one reason why I believe that it would be okay to consider this, even though the policy kind of, the policy talks specifically towards the amount of time that a former student would have been out, is I think there's to some degree some respect for an armed service with this, because you see Navy on there, and so I think it's kind of I believe to some degree that it would fit in terms of a tribute to a service member. And that's why I put it on the agenda to bring to you tonight to consider.
What's the policy actually say?
So the current policy reads, memorials for deceased students or staff shall be limited in form of perpetual awards or scholarships, collections of books, or items of historical or educational significance. Memorials involving concrete work, pavers, gardens, plantings, and/or building landscape modifications will not be permitted. Goes on to say one per loss, and that fundraising contributions should be given to Centerville Schools Foundation for collection and administration of the gift. The district desires to honor those who were students or employees at the time of their death or within 3 months of graduation or ending employment. It talks about an indoor memorial to add names to, which I'm not sure that that's something that's largely been kept up with in the past. The new policy that's proposed doesn't discuss that indoor memorial, has pretty similar language for most of the rest of it, except it adds memorials including concrete work, all that stuff, unless under prior approval and in alignment with the district's long-range maintenance plan. So, for example, if somebody wanted to donate a flagpole, and we know we need a new flagpole at a building, that would fit in the long-range maintenance plan, and that would be perfectly acceptable. Campus beautification is something that would fit into the long-range planning. It's not in necessarily our plan, it's something that we just do every year, but it could well, I think, fit in under that policy as well.
if I'm being honest, I think it's against our board policy to approve this. But at the approval of previous.
The invoice, just so you know, on this, when it was completed, was 5/11/22.
Okay.
So we had ordered it
Thank you for the
that
date.
winter, yeah. I remembered I threw that in there, so.
I think this qualifies as a campus beautification, and I would completely understand if the board directed me. I would completely take it, and obviously I'll take whatever you tell me because you're my boss, but I would understand completely if the board said to me, yes, I mean, we can do this one, but we can't take any more from previous administration. Moving forward, it'll have to be approved, and it'll have to be via board policy, because I understand that there's kind of a hang up on that, and that's fair, I understand completely. I would have brought it sooner, but the first I heard about it was actually, I had football practice with one of the gals that were working on the install and didn't know anything about it, so.
Which, glad that you did.
I'm glad I did, because
otherwise
then we had the
we're just
chance
gonna
to
go
get
where
it
it was-
done,
yeah.
and thank you to her, I mean, that was great, like, she was trying to do the right thing and how
Yeah.
she did it, and that was awesome, and had a really good mom, really good champion, football player, you know, after this last weekend there, so, but, yeah, I know, sorry. But,
Go ahead, I'll let everybody else, anybody else want to make a comment?
Call back, I mean, we definitely updating, a few items down on the said policy, right? That we're discussing the date when it was ordered and completed line up. It's not, I don't think somebody's just gonna decide to say, we're gonna do them around the rock and make up, somebody else did it. I think it's probably whether known, unknown, however, it should have been approved. I think there was discussions.
yeah.
I would put it along the lines of the campus beautification. Hopefully it's one of the last previous cleanups.
Yeah, and I totally understand if one of the directions with this is don't accept anything that was previously approved, and if it's a violation of policy, we won't approve anything more to that effect. I completely get it, and we'll definitely work under that, if that's what I get coming out. I just think this item could look really nice there.
Tom?
Well, I don't know, this is tough. We got 3 veterans on the board right here, so we certainly respect veterans a lot. I didn't know anything about this, I just don't quite understand how we're gonna take care of something like this in the future.
So we have, money from the memorial, and I've, talked to Eric, talked to Aaron today, and anytime if there's any kind of, there shouldn't be, but if there's any kind of maintenance, it's zero cost of the school.
Yeah, it's not so much that, it's just requests like this in the future is what I'm concerned with.
And I could, yep, sorry.
Are we setting precedent, I guess, is what I was.
That's what I'm thinking too. But I guess if we just say, this was done in the past, we're gonna honor it, and then not do any others. And of course, things can happen in the future too.
Anybody can bring anything to the board at any time.
Yeah, and the one thing is, in cases that where board policy doesn't conflict with the law, the board does have the ultimate authority to make a decision if they feel like something, but I think you have to be careful how often you say, well, we're gonna work against our policy, but I feel like in this case, it does serve a purpose for the look of the school and for celebrating a group of people, that it probably wouldn't be harmful long range, and part of that decision could be to not accept anything, but to reiterate the policy and to say, this will be the last of this kind of deal taken without prior approval.
I think that's where I'm at, just because over the last couple of years, we've ran into a lot of stuff that was
Previous.
word of mouth, handshake stuff.
Okay, I'm
gonna speak first, so I want you to just know where my heart is on this.
Oh, for sure.
I'm a veteran.
Mhm.
You know, at a military funeral, what song do they play? Taps. You know how many notes are in taps? 24. You know why I know 24? Because
because I was in a very dangerous profession on active duty, and I lost 24 friends who were killed on active duty, and every one of those was in a peacetime, but not even in wartime. I've heard taps played for 24 of my friends. So please understand where my heart's coming from as a veteran. I would be more comfortable if this was a memorial to honor all veterans. I have a hard time, personally, with a word-of-mouth agreement that is in direct violation of board policy. Because that does set a precedence. What if Lisa wants to come in and say, my dad was in the Marines, I want to have something out front near my parking spot? Not that she would do that. But what about everybody else who has a family connection, multiple kids who played on any sport? The reasons that you said that family connection, then I get that. And I get that, I get the emotions of all of that. But this is something that, we had 2 employees of this district who failed to follow board policy. And that bothers me deeply. I wish there was a way that we could turn this energy into something, because what I have thought about over the weekend is that down at that flagpole is a great place to honor all veterans. So is there a way to do that? Because I have a hard time with just doing this, because I'll tell you, if this just came up as, I want to do this, I would say no, I would still say it would be all veterans.
Right, and I absolutely understand, and I think kind of the family's position on this is, we thought it was taken care of. So we thought we had done everything, we got permission to get it done, we got the dimension, so we thought we followed all the policy,
Yeah.
and we did everything correctly, and then we're like, oh, okay, guess we didn't.
And I hear that. But I'm on this side saying, we had 2 employees who didn't do their job right. And so that puts us, the board, in the position of, to me, it's put us and the board in a tough position.
You had one employee who went to his superior and asked, is this something we can do? And his superior told him yes.
I will amend my comments to say we had 1 employee who did, not 2. Thank you, that's fair. That's
I
fair.
just wanted to defend that.
That's fair to Rich, that is fair, that is fair. I think, I'll rescind my comment not to myself.
Sorry.
No, that's absolutely the right. Okay, I've said my piece, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, it just. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying too, as a veteran too, during that time period. It's just, but it was done before.
Would it help if Aaron and I make in our long-range plan something to add to that same area that represents all veterans or thanks all veterans in the future? Probably wouldn't be this year because I've spent his money for this year. I gotta be
And like I
honest,
said, we do have some extra, so if there's something like that
that maybe can
that the
help.
family can be, yes, like financially to help with,
Yeah,
we'd be more than happy.
I'm just trying to think, we'd need to go down and look at it, to kind of come up with a plan, but if we could make that an area honoring all veterans as a result of that, would that help the board to come to the conclusion that they could approve this tonight and let us long-range plan that here?
It's pretty good down here.
Just the hill that we have to monitor all the time.
But this would be like a flagpole.
This would be my flagpole. Sorry, I go to humor one.
But no, I'm just trying to remember what, I thought you said something about a sign or something.
Yeah, in front of the flag, right in front of the flagpole, there is a white
Oh, that's
sign.
right, okay.
Yeah, this is
I
like
forgot
home
about
of the
that.
Big Reds and Redettes, so this would be, it would fit underneath, so it wouldn't like just be setting out in a way, essentially.
Not blocking
No.
stuff and all that.
And we even like checked during homecoming, they have a gator down there and stuff, and it was like, okay, they would still be able to pull in and, strategically would be.
And in terms of safety, it looks to me like it's big enough that we're not gonna have it thrown through a window. Because I hate to say that.
You're
that's-
not gonna pick that up.
Yeah, I hate to say that that's the kind of thing when you do rock features, sometimes you do have to look at that and the size of this, looks like it's big enough that nobody's gonna pick that up. If they do, we better be playing on that field because we really need that level of strength out there. So,
I guess I would recommend that we approve this because of the prior situation, but also on that approval, that can possibly be relocated at another time if other board decides to. Because maybe there's another location. We're gonna do this now. This board is not gonna be here forever.
I think that's why IASB recommends a policy like that, because what you run into in some places is, well, I'm planting a tree in honor of this person,
Yeah.
and then a storm tears down that, like, it hits that tree with lightning or something, and you have to tear the tree down, and then people get upset because you didn't replace the tree that I gave you to honor this person, and that's why IASB policy recommends that kind of thing. And I think if you had that kind of caveat on there, I would hope it wouldn't be anytime soon personally, but,
Yeah.
if you
And I
had
don't
that
know
kind of caveat on there.
Able, like, if,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the family would be fine with that as long as, like, they could be notified, invited in for a discussion.
Yeah.
Not just, going down there and it's like,
We're gonna move it tomorrow.
where's it at?
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
gone.
That's fair. I mean, it sounds like a nice spot for it.
Okay, does the board want to take action?
A board can make a decision, whatever they want in the future, so I'm just gonna approve this. I'm gonna approve this memorial at Paul Johnson Field.
So you have to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the memorial at Paul Johnson Field for Mr. Kovacevic.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the memorial at Paul Johnson Field. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. I'm sorry, Tara, but to me, it's a bigger issue, but I'm glad it's approved.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, I
You know,
appreciate it.
I'm glad it's approved, but just for reasons I stated.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get it, absolutely. And again,
Yeah.
if, like Dr. Johnson said, if down the road, something changes and it's, would be more suited for a different spot, we're open to that, it's not a.
But that's have your people that are working on it, work with it.
Yep. Yeah,
And they did a lot.
Alex is called,
Good, thanks.
that's above my pay.
I got you.
Heavy
Yeah.
machinery,
Yep.
I don't let that do it either, so,
Tara, thanks for waiting.
thank you, yeah, no problem, thank you.
Tara. I know you had to wait here a long time, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Long meeting. It's okay, I'm probably missing the Jets.
Item H, approval concussion protocol. I feel like I've already gotten it.
Jared, do you have anything you want to add to what's in the board packet on that?
No, just in September, Liz Harvey, the nurse at the high school, and I started having discussions about this in August. We met with all the nurses in the district in September. It's pretty standard across the state. You'll find in other districts to have a concussion protocol in place K-12, just because there's so many things that could happen and the kid hits their head. So it's kind of a two-pager. First page focuses on just return to learn and what we can do to get that kid back into the classroom learning to the best of their ability. And it's a good way for teachers just to observe if there's anything in the classroom, whether the lights are bothering them or whatever. So the first part is just focusing on getting them back to class full time and getting caught back up. Second page is more like 7 through 12, trying to get them in activities. And once again, it's just really making sure we're not pushing kids back and getting them back playing things before they should be, because we want to make sure that we're taking care of them, because a 7th grade football game isn't going to determine the rest of their life. So if we need to hold them out, we need to hold them out for their health, because that's what's most important. So we all sat down, went through that as a group in September, and this is what we came up with. It's very similar to what we used at the last 2 high schools I worked at.
Just about kid safety.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, and a third to approve the concussion protocol. In favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
I'm kind of surprised we didn't have that, honestly.
Yeah, no, but now we do, which is great.
I thought we did, so. Okay, approval of playground purchase, where's this going at?
This would be the preschool. This was nothing designed, it's kind of a fluke, but I figured I'd bring it to the board and let you guys decide. So this is basically, I get like 1,000 marketing emails constantly, and this is the one I clicked on. But
That's a legitimate statement, by the
it
way.
is, there's a lot of my spam folder.
But this was a good clip.
Basically, Play Pro Recreations, they had this piece of equipment they were trying to sell on a discount. Well, I asked all the questions, why is it discounted? So did Julie. But basically, this equipment system was purchased previously for another job that they had, but they purchased it wrong because that specific job needed a ground-mounted equipment, and this is an in-ground mounted. So then now they have it in their warehouse just sitting there, and they're trying to move it.
Oh, I know how that goes.
So, the original price of this unit was $21,540. They were giving us a discount down to $16,500 with a $3,500 install fee. Looking at the equipment we have over there, I'm like, well, what else do we need? Well, if we're gonna do that, we need to replace the swings that are in that area. So I'm like, okay, what do you have for swings? They originally quoted us for a set of swings for $2,500 with an additional $1,500 for install. So I started a little haggling, and I got it down with the big equipment, the swings, and install down to $21,500. The price they were giving us for both of them was $25,000, so I got it down to $21,500. You can't normally find playground equipment this cheap and this good of a deal, so I just thought I'd bring it to you guys.
And
Do you
we're
see why I like working with Aaron?
take everything out that's on that lower part.
I mean, we
Yeah.
spent 60 as a board and PTO just spent 100,000.
Yeah.
So even though it still sounds like it's too much money, it sounds like it's a value.
Yeah.
So is this age appropriate? I
Yes,
just wanna make
yeah,
sure.
it's rated 2 to 12, which is a lot of equipment, but with that low of rating means that it has the right amount of space between for smaller kiddos. So,
Is it gonna replace what's there?
so not the new, like the red and black, it won't do, it'll be just all that was there when it was Lincoln, which is equipment that's rated probably 6 to 12. And so it'll allow like all the kids to play, and since we have that new fence that our preschool PTO put in, that'll allow them to have more access.
And Julie, for the last couple of years, been begging me to rip out some of that
Yeah.
older stuff in the lower part, but we just haven't
Because
gotten
it's-
to it.
Because that's the monkey, or the thing that kids always fall off of.
Yes.
You need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Basically, everything in the lower area
Yeah, yeah,
will all be taken out, and these two things will be put in.
yeah.
Kind of a random steal that was available.
It is,
And
yeah.
it, honestly, this equipment is gonna be more age appropriate than what is currently there, which they have the access to the other one, but, you know, it'll be great to have.
And so this would fall under the budget that we use for summer maintenance projects, so that's the other thing, it's money that's already set aside for maintenance projects, but Aaron looked at that and really kind of thought, you know, this is a good project to do. To
I mean, it would-
upgrade our
Wasn't money I wanted to spend on playground equipment this year, but I mean, when you see a good deal, you kinda see something that, you see a need, and you have a good deal, you kinda have to jump on it.
On the 5-year plan, it probably is at like a year 7 kind of deal. So this is accelerating an item, but doing it for a cheap price. Unfortunately, the mountains in the bottom picture don't come with it. So, yeah.
Motion to approve?
I second.
You have a motion, a second to approve the playground equipment purchase as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Aaron, this would be fun in a baseball field. In this
Yeah,
area.
yeah, can you click on?
Keep
I'll
on having.
I'll find a discount baseball field.
Yeah.
I like that.
Item J, approval of the 2024-2025 Iowa Reading Corps Agreement.
Julie, you wanna talk about this one?
This is just a procedural thing. We've had reading corps in our district for
Long time.
8-10 years. I'm not sure, maybe longer than that. We currently have 3 tutors. This just allows that agreement to be had with who actually is the owner. Lisa, I can't. United Way.
Yeah.
Right? United Way, it's an AmeriCorps funded program. We pay for it separately, but this is just the agreement that will
house them and treat them well.
But, yeah, this is, they're paid for by the grant, basically.
Yep, and then our part of the grant payment is through our early literacy money. It's great, we move a lot of kids, it's a good agreement to agree to.
We have a motion second to approve the 2024-2025 Iowa Reading Corps Agreement. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
All right, can't wait. Approve the first reading of Board Policies 800. Mr. Taylor.
I have good news and bad news. So the good news is the 800 series is not real thick. There's not a lot there. The bad news is there's really nothing of much interest in there either. I mean, as you probably looked through it, it's all pretty procedural stuff. It's a catch-all for nothings.
And I'm bored with it.
Yeah, I really don't think there's anything worth calling out, except we already did kind of with the memorial policy, just adding a little flexibility for the board. But beyond that, it's just catching up to the laws on some building requirements and stuff.
It's been a while for that particular policy for the district.
Yeah, yeah, and
We've got it
this is our
close.
last one.
Is it, okay, I was gonna next one.
Yeah, this is our last one.
Motion to approve first reading of board policy 800 series.
Second. Wow, this is the fastest we've ever done that. I wasn't prepared for that. All right, all in favor, we have a motion, a second to approve the first reading of Board Policies 800 series. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
I'll flip your agenda for the second half of our review.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get down to that page. Item L, approve annual depository amount. Now, we have to do this every year, right?
Yes.
Annually, in fact.
Annually every year.
So,
And it doesn't say it, but it needs to say Iowa Trust.
Okay, this is that depository at Iowa Trust.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sorry. We go, I'm gonna come up later.
that's going to my evaluation. Yeah.
We had to come back and redo this in the middle of the year once because we didn't have enough to put all the bonds in. We had to come back and amend it one year. I do, so that was more than annually.
So there you go.
This is just the annual one. We have a motion second to approve the annual once-a-year depository amount. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think Lisa appreciates that. Approve the SBRC request for allowable growth and supplemental aid for negative special education balance.
Now, I put a PowerPoint in there, and I think I presented that before. Do you want me to go through that? I will.
Maybe highlights?
No.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it talks about how special education funding works. All students that are eligible for special education receive an IEP, and there are 3 levels of IEPs. So the district gets a certain weighting for each of those levels. Level 1 is a 1.72, so that just means that you get funding for one student plus the 0.72. Then there's level 2 at 2.21 and a level 3 at 3.74. Okay, so for the 23-24 school year, we had 115 level 1 students, 39 level 2 students, and 17 level 3 students. So you can see that generated a total revenue of $2,628,569. And then the next slide just kind of talks about other special education receipts. We get money from other districts for students that are open enrolled in. We get Medicaid reimbursement for students that qualify for Medicaid. Part B funding, which helps us fund some of the salaries and benefits. And there's a TSS amount that's just coded to special ed through the funding formula.
So do we actually, for the deficit, get extra funding?
We just get the authority.
This is just getting the authority.
Right.
Okay. So So this still comes out of our general fund.
Comes out of our cash reserve.
Cash reserve.
For that.
Yeah, yep. And I'll explain that when we look at the UAD.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, what you said is kind of,
Well,
because it goes into our general.
because I learned this last year. I thought when, in the past, when we approved this, the state was writing us a check. They're giving us the authority to write the check out of cash.
Right.
Right.
Because school funding is really fun and it has nothing to do with what cash you have. It has everything to do with how much the state says you can spend.
So this year, we had a total of, $2,967,509 for receipts, and then our expenditures were $3,294, some change, and that gave us a deficit of $326,774. So, we're gonna ask that you approve that here in a second. I put in a special education deficit history for the district.
I appreciate that.
We are increasing, as are a lot of other districts, so I don't.
Likely because of the increase in teacher salary, I mean, not likely, because of the increase in teacher salaries, it's about what state minimums and pay teachers appropriately. And support staff.
And this is for last year's spending.
Yes, FY '24. I put in the special education balance comparisons for FY '22 because the Department of Ed did not have the '23 available. I'm not sure why. So if you look, we just kind of picked out some other districts.
Well, didn't look at that screen that
Oh,
closely.
okay. 282 school districts out of the 300 and, I don't remember how many total school districts there are.
Yeah,
335.
Okay. 282 ended the year with a deficit.
this district that gave back $851,000.
Yeah, I did notice that. All of those districts requested the allowable growth with SBRC. And like you said, there were some districts that end with a positive, which just means they give it back.
So when you give it back, are you giving cash back?
Authority.
You're just giving authority back? Okay.
And I'll tell you the reason why there's districts doing that, looking at the districts on there that gave it back, it's hard staffs and special ed stations, particularly those related to behavior.
Right, and honestly, it's one of those situations where you might not know everything until at the end of the year where you're gonna end up.
So on ours, we had a parentheses -7.
Yeah.
Positive.
I'm sorry, did I mess it up?
It's double negative.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that in there.
Okay.
We're getting real punchy here at the end of this meeting.
I'm really upset that I did that, so, okay.
Oh.
Thank you, though.
Yeah.
So that's my summary of the special education deficit, and I am asking that you please approve requesting allowable growth.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion second to approve the allowable growth SBRC request for negative special education funding balance. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now we got item N, approve the SBRC request for allowable growth for limited English proficient.
This year, we're asking for $172.50, so.
$172.50?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve
They don't even care why.
$172.
Bring a wallet, that's here.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
So, now the next two items are what we would call yay, and then aw. So,
The next item is the financial report. Bring back the pizza.
That's why I was saying 4 o'clock.
I'll try to hurry with this.
No, it's okay. You take your time.
Well,
I want you.
because this is good, this is a celebration.
39 minutes.
okay, so you guys probably hear about, us talk about the unspent balance report all the time. I don't know that I've actually gone through the that action report with you and explained what makes up the formula. So first, I just want to go to the graph that is in there, I think that's on page 159. Just to kind of show you what our trends are. So FY10, we were trending up, increasing, very good. Got up to 24% UAB ratio, which 25% is high. I mean, a good place to be that the state recommends. And then we started to see a decrease. And once that happens,
We're a fun roller coaster ride, not a fun thing to see your money.
right. So, if you look, we got down in FY19 to our lowest point there, and the board made some decisions, and we have steadily increased since then, which was our goal. We did a lot of things we had some early retirements, and we just really took a look at our expenditures to get us to that goal. So, FY24, this past year, we ended at 22% UAB ratio, which was really good. Oh, I also want to say, this report is available to members of the board. You can look up any school district.
On the ISD website.
Yeah, but the public, it is available to them at the Department of Management, so. Anybody's
So,
interested?
Is anybody going to take Finance 101 at the convention? Or have you already taken it? Because the Finance 101 at the convention, they talked about that.
And this is the big number, this is the key. Like, if there's a number you wanna know financially by your district, this is the one.
Yeah.
I like, and we take it a little step further when Lisa and I talk, I prefer to take this and look at the unencumbered, unspent authorized budget, the ones that aren't categorical, because this includes categorical funds that have a balance. But this is the number that tells you whether or not you're healthy. The last school districts in the state of Iowa that have closed, according to SBRC, were based on having negative UAB. So that's the number.
So what I'm giving you to look at, you can look at that later, but I'm just gonna go down. If you go on page 160 of the packet, I'm just gonna go down and tell you what each of these items in a quick fashion. What makes up the formula? So, obviously, item number 1 is generated by enrollment. So, that's why enrollment is very important to your UAB ratio. It's a big part of the estimate balance formula. I'll go on down here. So everything from line 2 to line 8 are the categoricals. Funding, like professional development, early intervention, TLC, those are all based on when you do the budget, it's based on enrollment. Supplementary weighting on line 3, that's where you get weighting for concurrent classes with Indian Hills, operational sharing, at risk, ELL, and then line number 4 is special education weightings. Lines 9 through 15 is all AEA money, so it's all flowed through. You don't have any.
That's changing though.
Right, but it's still in place right now. Line 16, this is where, when you guys approve the dropout prevention money, that's where that goes. And then line 17 and 18 are both cash reserve amounts. Line 17 is where you would put the sped deficit and like early, or late open enrollment that we also do SBRC for later in the year. And then line 18 is any extra cash flow if we have the authority to do that, which right now we don't, Senator cannot do cash reserve. As line 19 is the SBRC amount requested by the board for the special ed deficit. Line 20 is if you have a positive balance, and that actually is decrease. That's one of the only lines here that we actually take away from the UAV. So you don't wanna have a positive balance, special ed. Line 22 and 23, to be honest, I've never actually seen anybody have an amount there, so, I suppose that's for construction projects that you might not have any.
You can't keep up.
Yeah.
Waukee, I think, has gotten that before me.
So I don't think that would apply to us at this point anyway. Line 24 is if there's been a mistake made on certified enrollment, they just correct that the next year. Line 25 is part of that AEA through. Then you have your preschool categorical funding, instructional support funding, voted PEPAL, or I'm sorry, not voted PEPAL. Ed Improvement Authority. I don't know anybody that has that at this time either. And then miscellaneous income. So there's two items that we could, that the district could have some control over in the UAB ratio or report, and that's the miscellaneous income. So that's where you have investment income, any grants that we have, and open enrollment tuition. So not a lot of room to grow there, but you do have some room for investments. And then you have expenditures. It's the last line 33. So that is what makes up the UAB report. So not a lot that the board has authority to change except for expenditures. So when you have an issue, that's what you have to change. Does anybody have any questions about it? I'll let you that quickly.
It's a fun document.
So UAB is not a rolling number?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
It is?
Yeah, because so, let's see, line 32 is, okay, so line 31.
Oh, got it, there it is. I was looking for that. Okay, never mind, thank you.
So actually, essentially what you're saying is, we saved about 5% of our yearly costs over the course of the last year to increase from 17 to 22.
Yeah.
Actually, about 4%.
That's why if you're decreasing, that since you have to roll over less every, when you roll over
I'm
less
actually
every
listening,
year.
so.
Okay.
Feels like I'm in middle school.
So if there is $3 million of unspent authorized balance, in theory, if you had the cash, you could spend that $3 million. No, you wouldn't want to,
That would be a bad decision, but yes.
legally, but it would be a bad decision for, it would not be a good fiscal management.
No.
Right.
But you still have the authority to spend it if you wanted to.
Yes, yeah.
Bad idea, but you're authorized to spend that if you wanted to.
And anytime you talk about, because the majority of those expenditures are staff. I mean,
Yeah.
let me just really demonstrate here. So, those are compounding expenditures, right? If you hire a person, they're gonna want a salary every year, not just the 1 year. So, that's where you see, as, well, when we get into the new stuff on the next item, where you see the numbers in the 5-year forecast, which we'll start talking about, getting our new file soon, they go down very quickly when you're spending more than you take in a year.
Okay.
There's no approval.
No approval. Any other questions on the financial reports? Thank you, Lisa. I actually enjoy spreadsheets. Less than I used to, but I don't really. Okay, item P, update on certified enrollment.
So we drew straws, Lisa got to give you the good news that our unspent authorized budget is almost to what the state recommends. I have to give you the bad news, and that is that we are down 50 students on our certified enrollment, 50 resident students. And we have an additional 30 open enrollments out net over what we had before, many of which are all of which are either 2 4-day schools or online schools, many of which are online schools, a good number of which are online schools after the deadline, a good handful of which are after we've indicated that they would receive truancy paperwork because of currency concerns. The online school loophole is still there. I've been told that that's something that may look at closing. I don't necessarily buy it, we'll see. But this results in a need to reduce $700,000 in order to simply maintain our unspent authorized budget at the level it's at for next year. So we're gonna bring a series of ideas to you on that. My goal coming through this, I mean, $700,000 is a lot of money for a district our size to cut, so it's not gonna be a walk in the park. But I would tell you, we've got some ideas that can help, I think, and we intend to bring ideas to you. We're not pushing the panic button yet. I think we have some things that won't harm kids, that may be able to, if everything goes well, allow us to hang on to staff members that wanna be hung on to, that would like to stay with us. It probably is gonna include using some of our management fund, and I think we'll probably recommend some sort of early retirement, maybe an early release benefit to the board, for some people who are looking to get out of the profession, I think, or to move closer to home. So we're gonna bring a series of things to you over the next few months here, but I think we can end up making this work out where nobody has to panic quite yet, so it's just a lot of money. So I was the gloom, she was the happy.
So there's nothing you can do about 50 less students in the district?
Right.
From a population standpoint, you can't?
Yeah, well, and I will tell you, I talked to a superintendent in a similar sized district about 24 miles away, who said they're down 50 this year. So their resident students is down. I don't know if that was resident and open enrolled out, or just resident, but they're down 50, so.
But as far as open enrollment, it's a little, going to online in 4-day districts. I don't know, I heard you say something about a large number of those they start to leave and chase other districts when we're kind of cracking down on the truancy, so they just take their option, go somewhere else. Nope, I don't want to go to school, so I'm going to go to another school district and not go to school.
And the only option after the deadline is virtual schools, so I think that's why we're seeing a lot of virtual schools being where they go. I think prior to this year, what we had when we didn't have the rule in place was, you know, we didn't enforce truancy as well as we should have, I will say that. But when we did try to enforce that, or behavior, or academics and working, it would just be find another brick and mortar I want to go to, so that maybe I can start again. So here we are, we still have a loophole to allow people to escape, and I shared with the director of the Department of Education in the meeting that you were there for that. We met a number of superintendents in the area with Director Snow, and I said, I think if you don't close these loopholes, it's gonna be a race to the bottom. Who's willing to have the lowest standards so that people will enroll for them? And I don't see where we, as a district, want to be engaged in having a low standard. So I don't see a reason to back down on expecting that people complete work and attend school. And for those playing along at home, we're not talking about, I missed 3 days because I had the flu, I missed a week because grandma died and we needed to go to Montana for the funeral. We're talking about, we have students who have missed upwards of 35 days already this school year. And we're in October, maybe 30, but we're talking about students that maybe attend a day a week here. So I think
Not even a day a week, because it hasn't been 30 weeks.
Right, yeah, maybe a day a week. And those are the things we're cracking down on. It's not the, hey, I was late because our tire was a little low because it's October and that's what happens to everybody this time of year. It's chronic issues that we're really wanting to crack down on with this. And those chronic issues are the ones kind of squirting out, trying to find a place that will let them get by with it. That's a little 2 cents with that, is all.
Seems to me a common fix to that one, with the change in the truancy reporting would be to attach those to the students as they roll out, but
Yeah.
again, a simple fix in state government.
So
School
technically
boards that go together.
that does happen with this, but if you go to a new county attorney in a new county, that county attorney doesn't know the history of the family engagement meetings that you've had and what solutions you've given to them, And if you go to a virtual schools aren't beholden to attendance standards because they just simply say they're in attendance for a virtual school. So,
I think your phrase "race to the bottom" is spot on, and that's unfortunate, because, you know, what was it, 53% of last year's kindergarten class had chronic absenteeism?
so it was the year before,
2
but
years
I was
ago.
wrong about that when I sent that email, but yeah, 53.5% were chronically absent. And I think that speaks to kind of what, you know, some communication we need to share. Now, that was a year that was very close to COVID, so you probably had a lot of, you know, if I have to stay home for 10 days, my kid was exposed, they need to stay home for 10 days. So I'm hoping that that data that the state is using to make decisions about schools right now, because that's the data the state's using to make decisions about schools from 2 years ago, which I think is absolutely asinine. I'm hoping that that data is far worse than the data that we can move forward based on in the future is. But it's where we're at, and it's what we're being held accountable for right now, is data from that year.
Yeah, because if we have a class, a cohort class, who's starting off in their very first year in the school district, have more than half of them are chronic absenteeism, that is not setting well up for the next 12 years. And there's, at a certain point, you know, the district can only do so much to get kids to school. We send a bus,
Yeah,
but somebody's gotta get them on the bus.
yeah. And I think the piece that I wanna caution us with on that is, like, if you think about if it was so close to, and actually Julie's the one who pointed that out to me. She's like, Mark, you gotta think this is a thing that was in place at that time. And I think it's a really good point, because the CDC recommendation at the time was keep them home for 10 days. And I think, so there is that component to it, right? But 53.5%, not all that was COVID, that were home for 10 days.
It wasn't that even in the height of the pandemic.
Right.
Mostly because they're closed.
Right. So, I mean, there's definitely still an underlying issue there, and I think it's probably an issue that is much larger than schools, but it's an issue that the only people that the state can hold accountable for it are schools, so they're gonna hold schools accountable for it. And that's where it is. It's gonna be a large portion of our school report card that's listed on the state websites, and,
But I don't know.
yeah.
I have trouble with that one. If we send, how many miles did we send a bus out there, and how many kids are riding the bus?
Right.
Somebody's gotta put the kid on the bus.
But I think what we're saying, and this all comes out of this certified enrollment conversation is, and we have made a lot of decisions over these 3 years that I think are very important for our school district. What we are saying to the people of our community is that a diploma from Centerville High School means something. And we're gonna hold to a standard that says that you're going to have the ability to come to work, you're gonna have the ability to get work done, and you're gonna have some skills to be ready for that work. And I believe that that's the right message to send. I believe that's the message that's gonna allow our kids to use the reputation of what's going to be a very strong school district with that approach to find some scholarships to be successful out in college, and that's what we're here for. I mean, pointing at the mission, that's what we say we're gonna do, and that's what we're walking the walk, even though it hurts a little bit to do it.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on certified enrollment?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mark. All right, approved personal business procedures.
Should approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve all personnel business procedures as listed in the packet. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? Okay. Financial reports. Lisa, you've given a lot of talk time tonight.
I don't have
She
anything
loves
else to add, these are just your normal financials.
Okay.
Should approve.
We have a motion, a second to approve financial reports, pay the bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed? Financial reports are approved. What's
Can I
that?
put a note on that we talked about, right to put on that? So, you have on your table a van, proposal on a van. Because we want to be transparent in our agendas, we cannot approve that tonight, but that's something that we would like you to approve on the 28th, so we've given you that information. It's also within Aaron's budget, and it's something that we believe we very much need and very much can afford given his budget. So just want to let you know, the reason that's on your table is we tried to figure out if it was something that would make sense to do, and we just didn't feel we were being transparent enough to the public to approve that tonight, but we'll ask for approval on the 28th.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna bring this up under superintendent report, so that's okay. So, Aaron, just, you wanna talk?
Yeah, basically, the current van that we, box truck we use for the maintenance guy, is bad. I mean, I couldn't think of a better word. The transmission is going out of it. After talks with Mike and his inspection of it, it's the replacement of the transmission is more than what the truck's even worth. The whole box of the back box of the truck is starting to rust off. Right now, it's only been being held down by two bolts, and mainly, you see that truck driving around town. And with the transmission issue, it has a whine to it. You can hear it from a block and a half away. It just doesn't put a very good outlook on Centerville schools if you drive something like that around with our name and logo on it. And then this van I thought was a really good deal.
What's it used for?
The maintenance truck, just basically.
That box truck is used for maintenance?
Yes, we have one over here at the shop that we use.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, basically it just has all of our tools in it. Anytime we go anywhere to do anything, we have that.
So this is a district maintenance service van?
Basically, yes.
Got it.
This is the type of van that most all service techs use.
Yep.
So we were going with something similar to that. This particular van already has like weather guard shelving in the back of it, so it's exactly what we want and need. It'd be a nice upgrade. It's not very often that with my Pebble money, I get to spend it on my actual department instead of the schools, which most supposed to go for the schools, but every now and then to update the equipment that we use to do work for the schools would be nice.
I bought you a truck a few years ago.
You did, that's true. That's true.
I mean, you gotta plop snow with it, but we got you a truck.
That's true.
So this is something that,
We would like to bring back on the 28th. Yeah.
but I think what we need to do is, and I don't know how to do this, but you probably need to give them an answer. Are they holding this?
They were holding it for us. And
Okay. So since we can't approve it, I'm not sure how to communicate to them that there would be an interest in the board without violating a vote policy, open meeting.
We would like to go ahead and start drafting the paperwork to present as the item that we present to the board on this item on the next meeting, unless there was opposition to drafting the paperwork with them.
So it's just kind of a consensus thing. Is there any strong objections at this point? Okay, got it. All right, let's move on to superintendent report.
Thank you, I'll be quick. I love the job that our administrative staff is doing this year. I'm just really proud of what's going on out in the buildings and the difference they're making for kids. It's been a really good year. Homecoming went really well. Everybody did the right thing, well, most of the right things. They didn't TP the high school, so kudos to the high school administration for putting the fear out into some people. Those at home, if you have a child or if you care for a child, and you're still watching to the end of a 3.5-hour board meeting, one, wow, that's dedication, thanks. Two, please talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. And particularly parents, I ask that you watch out for vape cartridges, I think they're called carts for short, that contain THC. This is a major item hitting schools, not just around our state, but across the U.S. right now. And it is super dangerous. This is the same drug that's in marijuana. And it's something that we really ask that parents watch out for. And if you have a kid who needs help, who has a problem, we can line them up with a counselor and get them some help. Because we want to make sure that we're preparing kids to have happy, safe, drug-free lives, and we look forward to any support we can get on that. So that's all I've got.
Okay. Board takeaways, Tim.
You got a lot to choose from.
There's a lot to choose from. I think we had quite a few big issues that we touched on and that were things tonight, and I think that we handled it as a board as well as we could. And I enjoyed having the student report, and I look forward to it.
You get one, you get one.
I don't way too many here.
He's still.
And I go last. I usually go last, so, Mike?
I was actually surprised by the number for the baseball field in a good way. I thought it'd be more proposed, so. Yeah, so, still.
I got double down my cardiac meds.
Still up in the air to decide which is the best option to go with, you know? But I think it's definitely worth proceeding and looking at some.
Eric?
The certified enrollment, that's certainly concerning. I know since I got on the board, you know, pretty much this time every year, it's always a conversation, you know, to really try to dig deeper, if you can. I know there's a lot of those that have never even attended the district, go where mom and dad went, whatever it may be. And then again, some of those that are trying to get away from, run from their troubles, so to speak. But I still would like us to try to somehow, you know, exit interview with some of those that would be, you know, is it a it's not you, it's me thing, or are we failing to meet the expectations?
Well, when it's not you, it's me, usually means it is you.
But other than that, again, appreciate the students, you know, especially those sticking around after those first couple of closed sessions. We certainly appreciate that. Those guys are still there.
Well, I did like the FFA presentation. I think the FFA is really important. The program's going very good. I appreciate that. And on the certified enrollment thing, what disappoints me with that so much, what Mark was talking about, the virtual school and kids getting out of it. I think, you know, as a school board, we have so much responsibility here that we can't really do anything about it. And the state has to get their act together. I'm sorry. The state has to get their act together, or it's gonna make it tougher for all schools.
And society in general.
Okay. So mine is, and Mark's a little bit about, to the administrators, you guys are doing tough work. I appreciate it. I've been frustrated over time with the community expectations on the school district to solve all the problems. You know, sometimes we kind of get that. And I did the math. We got kids a little over 1,000 hours a year. You know that's only 12.3% of the hours in a year? 12.3%. Now, when we put them on a bus, we put them in sports and things, we may have them 14, 15% of the hours of the year. But we're doing, in some cases, 100% of the rearing and raising. And that's evident in some of the actions that this board has had to take. Not all of the actions we've had to take are bad. I mean, we've had some, you know, that are just some unfortunate things. But in some cases, we're dealing with issues like kids don't want to come to school, so they open and roll out. We chase down the truancy, they open and roll out. That's what I was saying earlier. It's about, you know, we drive the bus by the house, you got to put the kids on the bus. There's only so much you guys can do with your 15% of the year. And I think you're doing an outstanding job. You know, we always need to work on being better, but I just want to commend our staff and our administrators for doing the best with the 15% you got. That might be my new motto coming up. Because 85% of the hours in the year, they're under parental or legal guardian control. So just do the best with the 15% you got. I think it'll be next year's welcome back to school speech too, 15%, so you might hear that again. So thank you for what you're doing and make the most of it. So, we will have 2 more meetings between now and ISB, so we'll talk more about that later. It is late.
Second.
We have motion second adjourned. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?